Now, is anybody looking for good hunting land for this next fall? I think there's some great ways to find land, and trust me, I've used all of these to find new hunting land and to make relationships and to find that network that allows me to find new hunting land even if I lose hunting land. There's always a way to get on good property. And I'm going to talk about 5 ways that are really good ways, and one way that's not a good way to find hunting land for this next year. And I truly hope you find new hunting land. And I'll make a point real quick. I put 6 to 8 hours over here. What I mean by that, don't be afraid to drive a little bit. I like that 6 to 8 hour range. You know, of course, I'd rather it be a half hour. Right now in Wisconsin, from our house in Minnesota, it's 50 minutes to hunt, and so that's an okay time. But for 10 years, we hunted in Southwest Wisconsin, driving from the UP in Michigan, and it was 6.5 to 7 hours one way. It's not a bad time. And the reason I say that is a lot of times I did it by myself, or I went with one hunting buddy or two, and people hunted maybe on a public land nearby or something, so we'd come down together. That time frame allows you to go after work and still get into the area at a reasonable time. There were times we left at 10 o'clock at night after the family went to bed and literally slept in the car for 20 minutes, set an alarm or a half hour, and then went hunting in the morning. But it allowed us to leave after work, and what's really important about that is that you didn't have to take a day off to travel too. That's really a waste of time. Now, in coming home, that 6 to 8 hour time range, if that's how far you're hunting away from home, then it allowed you to leave after hunting and make it home, so you didn't have to take a day off on your return time too. And so you weren't wasting time driving those days like you would a 10 or 12 hour day, where you really have to take off some time, some serious time sometimes. And sometimes you can't even take a half day, you have to take a full day off. So that 6 to 8 hour time frame was important. Did that for 10 years. During that 10 years, I shot about, I'd say 13 bucks, shot 17 in 12 years. So whatever that works out to, 14 bucks maybe during that time. Was very successful. And it was because we made smart decisions on when we hunt. There were literally times that I went down for a day and a half on a Wednesday and a Thursday to hunt 2 mornings and an evening, and worked it out so I didn't have to take Tuesday or Friday off in any way, and had success, as opposed to going to a 3 or 4 day weekend where there was bad weather and bad days. That's why I came up with my weather formula a long time ago, because I wanted to maximize my time and make sure I was managing my time well. So part of it is making sure you're not taking time off. The other part is making sure that you prioritize the best days to hunt and try to ignore the poorest days, even if it allows you to hunt a long weekend. And that's where a lot of times I was going by myself, because some of my hunting partners couldn't go unless it was a long weekend. So I just basically ditch them and go Wednesday to Friday and shoot a buck. And that's the way it would work. And I was within that 6 to 8 hours, it allowed me to do that. So think about that as we're talking here. You know, again, obviously I'd rather drive a half hour, and 50 minutes right now isn't too bad. But, you know, think about that, putting that time out. You have to manage your time well, and you have to pick the best days. And that's why I helped HuntWise develop HuntCast and infused my weather algorithm into it, because that's a formula that I've used for 3 decades. Number 1, knock on doors. When you're knocking on doors, you're not doing that in September, October, November, December. You're doing that in February, March, April. The season is long gone, and the season has still several months or several weeks to begin. You're taking your son, your daughter, your wife, your husband. You're knocking on doors as a team. You're dressing in normal street clothes. You're not dressing too fancy, and you're not dressing like a slob, and you're certainly not showing up in your hunting clothes. You're knocking on doors. People will say no. That's no big deal. You ask them, hey, is there anybody else you know that might allow hunting in the area, might allow us to lease land? And so you're trying to network. You're introducing yourself. You're telling them where you're from. You're asking them questions. You're not trying to sell them anything. And that's when it comes down to, don't ever let someone tell you that, oh, we already have some people hunting on the property. Make sure you've looked ahead of time. You know they own 80 acres. You know that in the area, 80 acres to lease is going for $2,000 to $3,000 or $2,400. Offer them the appropriate price. Never try to get a steal, because you're going to look bad in the end when they start figuring out how much land is actually going for. That's fine if you want to ask and you keep knocking on doors, finding a free spot to hunt. It's going to take a lot longer. You have less control, and you could lose it in an instant, even in the middle of the season. Leasing land helps you secure that a little bit more. I'm not, go ahead and ask for permission, get free land, that's fine if you want to do that. But know what the land is worth when you walk up to the door. And you'll be amazed when people will say, you already have an idea of money in mind, what it's worth. And they say, oh, we have Cousin Joe and whatever hunting it and family and friends. And you say, okay, I understand that. I would be willing to pay you $2,400 to lease your 80 acres. A lot of times you get a gasp. Because if they've been letting friends and family, they're certainly not telling them how much the land is worth. And so you might be shocked when they say, oh, really? You'd pay that much to hunt our land? Because they've been getting a gas card and a plate of cookies and a thank you and cold, hard cash talks. A lot of times they'll go back to who's been hunting their land for free or for not much and say, hey, would you be willing to pay this? They might try to get you out of that for 1 year or something, but money talks, and know what the property's worth before you knock on the door. Lease companies. If you go through lease companies, that's how we found our parcel in 2002 in Southwest Wisconsin, and now I've hunted Wisconsin, I think 17 seasons or 18, whatever it is now. I don't even remember now, 18, 19? I guess I can't even think of what, but it's been 18, 19 seasons that I've been able to hunt in Wisconsin, and that got me over here into Minnesota. And so a lease company was a really good way to go. I have friends that use lease companies to this day with great success. Some people use them with poor success. I do recommend that you pay the most so you can get the properties that come on the market immediately, and you're not waiting till next week for the silver membership or platinum membership or whatever. You're getting the top membership so you get to see those properties right away, and it's a great way to go. And what's interesting, you could look at a lot of lease companies and look at those prices per acre, and maybe you could shave a little bit off, but they're pretty close to what the market value is in the area. So you can use those lease companies not only to find new properties, but to help understand what property is actually going for. Now you can look on Craigslist, newspapers, things like that, but most of the time those properties either gone, overpriced, underpriced, whatever it might be, there's a catch. Hunting leases will help you narrow it down to people that are serious to actually lease land. Public land, look at that same 6 to 8 hours. Look at areas that have traditional good buck areas and are away from big cities. I'll give you an example, Eau Claire. Eau Claire is a pretty big area. La Crosse is a pretty big area. I'd probably rather stick away from half hour, 45 minutes from those type of population centers, let alone Milwaukee, Green Bay, Madison, areas like that that are a lot larger in the state of Wisconsin. Cincinnati, Columbus, Indianapolis, whatever it is, it pays to get an hour to 2 hours away from those population centers out in the middle of nowhere, and you're going to have a lot less competition for that land. And a lot of times you'll find that land is cheaper if you're looking for a lease, or easier to get for free, for a handshake and whatever else. But make sure you're canvassing the area. You're checking out historical sign is more important than current sign. You're looking for a history of big buck sign. You're looking for a history of buck sign. You're looking for the opposite of a history of hunting pressure and hunting sign. You're looking for areas that you can tell that people aren't readily in. They're not leaving trash, or not leaving areas, or not near hiking trails. They're in areas where you can get away from people, and then have good deer populations. And believe it or not, within an hour to two of almost anybody in the whitetail area states of the country, you're going to find those areas. Don't be afraid to move. I hear a lot of people whining that their area on public land is bad, and I call it whining because they haven't looked an hour to 2 hours away, half hour away, and they haven't canvassed the area of public land to find actual good spots. And I know I hunted one area in Ohio, I believe it was for 5 years straight, and the first couple years were good, and then it went downhill as the clear cuts aged, and I would have been better off after that first or second year looking for new areas and always canvassing the entire area to find new sign. And yeah, you get used to some of those areas, you have a familiarity. Some people have hunted their areas for 20 years, but don't be afraid to move and really quit the whining. I say that with a smile, but I mean it. There's areas you can find, other areas to hunt if you're really a serious whitetail hunter. Now, buying. That's certainly an option. That's an option I've used. I've used a leasing route. I've used a knock on door for permission. I've given people venison sticks, Christmas cookies. I've taken the whole route. But buying. Now, buying is a different animal. It's a different animal than buying a house. When I look at a house, I'm typically contacting, if I'm in the area, I'm contacting that agent that owns the house, because there's more negotiation power on the commission when you're going through the actual listing agent. A little bit different for property. Property is harder to find. Good agents know a property that's coming on the market, and they know what areas if you get a good agent. So I'm looking at really proven real estate agents that have been selling property for a long time, and they're actual really good hunters. They're not someone that just knows hunting land. They're actually really good hunters, because they're the ones that are going to steer you in the right direction. And so it pays. We've used an agent over here, Chad Garteski with Weiss Real Estate. He's the best in these 4 or 5 counties at least, let alone his agents in other counties. And we've purchased land through him in Wisconsin. We've sold that same parcel in Wisconsin. We bought our land here in Minnesota through him. He showed us a lot of other parcels. I've referred him to friends because I trust him. And he's just a plain good agent. So look for an agent like Chad, and they'll steer you in the right direction. I wouldn't start just calling around any agent. I'd find a good one, and they'll steer you into a great hunting parcel. And you might use them again and again. The coffee crowd. Have you ever gone to a cafe? 10 o'clock in the morning, 10 and 1. A lot of times are common coffee crowd times where you can go in there and the retired guys are sitting around, farmers, whatever it might be. You go in there, sit down, and actually get to know these people, because if you end up hunting in the area, they're going to be the people that are your friends, that are the people you want to stop by, you want to, have a beer with, have dinner with, drop some cookies off with, just stop in to say hi 10 years later. Sit down, make real relationships with people. Again, not with your hunting clothes on in the middle of hunting season. You're doing this off time, just like you're knocking on doors, and just ask them. You guys know, I'm here because I'm looking for hunting property. I hear it's a good area. Do you know anyone that would be willing to lease or let me hunt on their land for doing a little bit of work? Great way to find not only hunting property, but to find good friends and people that you get to know and spend relationships with for a long time. To come, even people that if you're not hunting on their land, you might stop by and say hi, and that's what it's all about. The coffee crowd can be a great place. Number 6, Facebook. I'm just kidding. That is not a good place to find hunting land. It's crazy. People say, hey, I want to find a great hunting lease for my son and I within 30 minutes of Detroit or Grand Rapids or Lansing. Anybody know of a spot? Well, all those 5 places have already taken place on more a legitimate scale. And when people are asking that, it's almost funny that you're actually going to find a great parcel. I'm not saying people don't find parcels like that. Sometimes people have a big social media following and they have some contacts. It's a great way at that point. But in general, it's a poor way to find land. There's better ways than social media. And really, it boils back to finding that target spot. It might be 6 to 8 hours away. You need to plan, whether it's, even when I'm driving 50 minutes over to Wisconsin, I could have hunted today. Dylan was here to film. We're filming videos right now. We could have hunted. He has his hunting clothes, but it's a better day tomorrow. I can use a better stand. And why walk by that stand and hunt 300 yards away with potential of spooking that stand in and out when I can hunt that stand and put all my eggs into tomorrow instead of hunting 2 days like this. I'm going on a client trip on Wednesday. I'm going to be here a little bit, but I'm going to be gone mostly for over 2 weeks. And, I really want to hunt. I'm going to hunt the 10 days when I get back quite a bit, but even during that 10 days, I might have 5 sits, 3 sits, 4 sits, whatever it is. It pays to manage your time well, manage your time off well. Don't take days to drive if you can help it off one way, return or going out to hunt. It's just a waste of time. And you're going to be a much more successful hunter targeting whatever you do, hunting, those best days to be in the woods based on the weather. And I'll tell you, the weather algorithm that I developed over the last 3 decades and the way I hunt, I'll tell you a little secret. It's weeding out the hot days, the really windy days, the really stormy days. When you take out all those windy days, stormy days, bad weather days, and really hot days, then you're left with a much smaller percentage of the days to hunt. Let's say 30%, 40%. If you look for weather change and you apply it to those days and look at the most extreme changes and understand that formula, then that's where HuntCast became infused into the HuntWise algorithm this year and HuntWise app. And people say, I didn't see any deer. Well, you got to make good decisions. You got to manage your time well. You have to pick the right stand. You have to be on a property that actually has deer and has good movement. You have to pick the right movement, and you can't have applied too much hunting pressure where you've spooked deer away. So there's a lot of other decisions, smart decisions you have to make to find a good spot to hunt. But bottom line, these are 5 great ways that I've used in the past to find hunting land. And frankly, I hunt on public land every year. I hunt lease land. I hunt my own land I buy, and those are to rely on the most. I do not rely on land by permission where it's free, because nothing's free. I can't count on it. I'd much, and I'm not just saying this, I'd much, and I do every year, hunt public land where I have a lot more control than hunt land by permission that can be taken away in an instant, and I can't plan on, count on, and I can frankly waste a lot of time on that I don't have time to waste on. These are 5 great ways to find great deer hunting land in this off season. And hey, we're a month away from knocking on doors, putting on a smiley face and getting to know some new people, having some fun, and ultimately find a great place to hunt this fall. Now, as we transition into habitat season, I hope you've had a chance to check out my web class, How to Design Your Whitetail Parcel. It's on my website, whitetailhabitatsolutions.com. I have a link in the description, and I hope you can find it, check it out, and enjoy it this year.